So, Better Call Saul. After having finished The Wire, as many of my subscribers know, I checked out the modern day classic Breaking Bad, and I have an interesting relationship with it. I mean, I didn't hate it. I got a lot of stick for my reviews of Breaking Bad from people, but the thing is, I really like the show. I just didn't think it was an all-time great. I still stand by that, but I do acknowledge that my viewing was probably affected by a number of factors, like the show's reputation, the fact that I knew going in that Walter White was going to become more and more evil over the course of the show, my suffering from post-The Wire syndrome, and being ill-disciplined with my viewing of the show. Like, I'm not a big fan of binge watching. I think you should space out each episode to soak it up and let the events sink in, but I was sometimes watching about 3 or 4 episodes of Breaking Bad a day. I did enjoy the world and the characters, and as I mentioned before, I did want to dive back into it. And many people actually suggested that I would like the prequel show a lot better. I didn't know much going in. I think I'm aware of a few spoilerish things that happen later on, but not much. A lot of people said I should watch this, that it's more character-driven and comparable to The Sopranos and The Wire, and that the first 2 seasons are kind of slow and dry, and then the third is really good, and after that the show becomes a masterpiece, which funnily enough is what a lot of people said about Breaking Bad. As I mentioned in one of my reviews of Breaking Bad, for some reason, I'm not fully sure why, but even before I started watching Breaking Bad, I had a feeling that I would enjoy Better Call Saul more. In some weird way, I actually watched Breaking Bad to watch Better Call Saul. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I'm a big fan of courtroom dramas, and the idea of following a sleazy, dodgy lawyer on his adventures is appealing to me. It definitely feels like you can do a lot with this character in this already established world. So anyway, as most of you watching this review already know, Better Call Saul follows the fan-favourite offbeat character from Breaking Bad, Saul Goodman, the criminal lawyer who is also a criminal lawyer. Through a series of flashbacks, we see that before he became a lawyer, he was a small-time con artist, real name Jimmy McGill, who got into some trouble and decided to clean up his act after being bailed out by his older, wise brother Chuck, also a lawyer, one with a heavy reputation. It's difficult to summarize the plot of Season 1 because quite a lot actually happens. Jimmy is quite a flustered and frustrated character, stuck in a rut as a public defender with no clout, no cash and no phone calls from potential clients. It was quite interesting to me seeing the mundane day-to-day aspects of the life of a small-time lawyer. Even aside from the actual plot and characters, all of that stuff was interesting. But anyway, Jimmy takes care of his older brother Chuck, who is a lawyer who runs his own firm, HHM, with a business partner, Howard. Chuck can't come out of his house and he's not worked in about a year because he has a weird disease where he can't handle electricity. Jimmy also has a friend who works at HHM called Kim. There is something going on between Jimmy and HHM, in particular Howard. Some history, some bad blood, but it's not entirely clear what. Jimmy gets involved in a few Breaking Bad-esque shenanigans throughout the show, like having to talk a gangster out of breaking the legs of 2 scammers in the middle of the New Mexico desert. He also has to get another gangster out of police custody who's been accused of kidnapping a family but is innocent and has threatened Jimmy if he can't get him out. There's also a case Jimmy is forced to take on, defending a treasurer who's stolen millions of dollars, and that's because Jimmy earlier took a bribe from the treasurer and his wife. There's also another case involving an old people's home committing fraud against their residents, a case too big for Jimmy alone, so he is told by Chuck to take it to his nemesis at HHM. Mike, the fan-favourite muscle from Breaking Bad, is a major character in this season. He's developed quite a lot in this season, even having almost an entire episode dedicated to his past, which really fleshes out his character and even explains things from Breaking Bad, like why he developed a bond with Jesse. There's a lot of different stories happening, and a lot of them tie in together with each other in a way that feels authentic and natural. Plot devices are not obvious and in your face. The show doesn't telegraph where it's going. It feels fresh, it feels rich with its strong roster of characters. One thing I complained about with Breaking Bad was that I could see where scenes and plots were going. Here, it's like I have an overall idea of where things are going, but the show knows what I'm thinking and is just one step ahead, and as a result, I'm happily surprised and eager to see where things are going. Like, for example, there's a part where two twin skaters crash into Jimmy's car and demand cash. Jimmy's getting all flustered, and I was thinking, this is obviously going to be a scam. And then Jimmy pulls an Uno reverse card, and it turns out he knew he was being set up. Then there's another part where the twins try to scam an old lady, and she tells them to come into her house. And you just know something's up. I was thinking, her husband probably is in the house with an AK-47. But what I wasn't expecting was Tuco Salamanca to open the door. And finally, in one of the more entertaining and elaborate schemes of Jimmy, after coming into some cash, he intentionally makes a billboard that looks like one of HHM's. And when the law forces him to take it down for copyright reasons, Jimmy has a film student film him in front of the billboard being taken down, trying to deliver a sad sob story about a big corporation taking out the little guy. I thought it was a good plan, and while he's filming, the guy taking down the board nearly falls to his death, and Jimmy climbs up the board and saves him, becoming a local hero in the process. And while I was watching this scene, just when I thought, you know what, this stunt might be part of the scheme, Jimmy and the guy high-five, showing us it was staged. So in a way, the show was keeping me on my toes and entertaining and surprising me. Overall, to summarize my thoughts, I really enjoyed the first season of Better Call Saul. I'm not saying that to appease Breaking Bad fans. Say what you want about my opinions, but they are genuine. I had a lot of fun with Better Call Saul. The main character is very captivating, and it says something about Bob Odenkirk's acting that he can be so slapstick and wacky that he can come off as a Mr. Bean impersonator, and in the next scene he'll pull at your heartstrings. And that can be said about the show itself, which switches from comedy to serious drama instantaneously without issues. The tone is captured perfectly and personified by the main character. Let me give you an example. The treasurer and his wife are really good for a laugh. He is a wimp who is subservient to his wife, and she is domineering over him, and headstrong and arrogant, refusing to take a deal where her husband would go to prison for only a few months, when the couple could be looking at decades in prison for both of them if they plead non-guilty. They are intentionally annoying and irritating, and you love to hate them. But then there is a scene where we're cheering on Jimmy for catching the couple out and threatening them, where they are forced to come to terms with reality. The wife starts tearing up and malfunctioning, and suddenly what should have been obvious as a viewer was made apparent, that all this time, with her stubborn behaviour, she was simply fighting tooth and nail to keep her husband out of prison. And he has quite a sweet, sad line when they're both resigned to the fact, where he says something like, "The kids, they can't lose us both." It was just really cool how the show turned these two almost comic relief characters on their head with just a short scene. Is it too bold? And is it a case of recency bias for me to say I actually enjoyed this season more than any of Breaking Bad? I don't know, but Better Call Saul feels richer, more fuller. It has the laughs, twists and thrills of Breaking Bad, but as many of you already told me, it thrusts the characters into the forefront and makes them of the most importance. Prequels are an awkward, difficult thing, but this show gets a huge thumbs up from me. It's surprising how gripping, sharp and captivating it is when you consider we know Jimmy will end up as the sleazy Saul Goodman. It stands on its own two legs too. References to Breaking Bad are minimal and come off as incidental in-universe, rather than wink wink nudge nudge. I know the likes of Gus Fring and others will become heavy hitters, and my hope is that the show will not be taken away from being primarily about Jimmy and just become about all these big drug dealers trying to kill each other. But I feel the show is in safe hands. In fact, I know the story will get more broad and open up to bigger things, but even if they ended the show with just episode 10, I would think, you know what, that was a solid prequel show, showing how Jimmy is well on his way to becoming Saul. Before we end, I just want to thank my sole patron, Andrea Millington, and also my channel members, the new Ongoam24, Rikers, and Michael Awatwi. If you want early access to videos and exclusive videos, consider becoming a channel member, and thanks for watching.